10 behaviors that keep you single. How's your love life? Are you presently single, or maybe you are looking for a long-term relationship? Although we hope you set up that special someone, we understand that generally, courting isn't easy. Everybody has their fair share of dating disasters, whether or not we did like to admit it. Occasionally, we come on too strong or act too cold. We might want different effects or have inharmonious views that make it hard for us to stay together. The point is, certain connections are meant to fall piecemeal, whether it's because of change, bad timing, or incompatibility. But other times it might be our fault, and we do and indeed know it. Connections are a veritably well-studied content of psychology. But indeed, after decades of exploration, there's still so much we do and know about love. Romantic connections can be hard to navigate, and we are frequently shamefaced of complicating effects, indeed more with our drama and overthinking. Do you suppose you might be hurting your chances at true love? Have you had a long list of failed connections but can't feel to figure out where it all went wrong? It jewels when you are playing the field and feeling yourself, and it sucks when you are lonely and insecure. It's not always going to be a perfect 50-50 split, but your time is enough important torn between being happy with your singlehood and being ready to find someone. Whatever the case may be, there is a time, no matter who you're and how happy you're with being single, where you kind of do not detest the idea of not being single presently. Obviously, if a swain does not just appear the nanosecond you want one to, incompletely due to a lack of quality options. 1. Your station. Your outlook on life and how you carry yourself is everything. However, you are going to have a piss-poor courting life. If you have a piss-poor station, you cannot hide a patient foul mood. It's veritably outputting because it permeates every aspect of your guest, from your conversational tone to your body language. It's okay to take a breath from courting and figure out why you were so angry or argumentative all the time. You should always work on yourself before you get involved with someone differently. 2. Defenses. Most people have been hurt in interpersonal connections. With time and painful jests, we all threat erecting up varying degrees of bitterness and come protective. This process begins long before we start dating. In our springtime, when hurtful relations and dynamics lead us to put up walls or perceive the world through a sludge that can negatively impact us as grown-ups. These acclamations can beget us to come decreasingly tone defensive and closed out. In our adult connections, we may repel being too vulnerable or write people out too acily. However, for illustration, you were raised by parents or caretakers who were careless or cold. If you may feel suspicious of people who show too important interest in you and rather seek out connections that recreate dynamics from your history. You may also choose a mate who's frosty or distant. It is not always easy to see when we got our defenses up. As a result, we tend to condemn our conventionality on external forces and fail to feed that we are not as open as we suppose. 3. Have unrealistic norms. We all have certain criteria when it comes to a mate. Some of these can be valid and others border on ridiculous. We don't know ourselves as much as we suppose we do, and hourly what we suppose we want isn't the same as what we actually need. When I was single, if you asked me to describe my ideal Joe, the answer would be exactly the contrary of who I ended up marrying, and I realized that marrying that type of Joe would have been a disaster. You will be surprised at what can be when you stop assessing if he has all the rates you want and rather try to connect to him as a person. You will be surprised at what can be when you stop assessing if he or she has all the rates you want and rather try to connect to him or her as a person. 4. Dating is not a precedence first and foremost. Numerous people remain single because they simply have not prioritized their courting life in any active way. They might conjure up being in a married relationship eventually, yet they do not make time for social events or dates, encounter off people who express interest, and keep their lives so busy that they wouldn't have time indeed if the right person came knocking on their door moment. Work, exercise, musketeers, and pursuits take priority, while courting is treated as an afterthought or given Theo. If it happens energy. There is absolutely nothing wrong with prioritizing other corridor of your life over courting. And if that is just what is most important to you at this time, enjoy that and do it proudly. You get to decide what your precedences are, and your courting life can be on the timeline that you choose. As well, occasionally, you are in a period in your life when dating simply cannot be a precedence. Indeed, if you want it to be example, you are raising youthful kiddies, you are dealing with grief or internal health struggles, etc. So cut yourself some slack. Just know that just as your career is not going to progress if you are not putting focused attention on it, dating moment frequently requires some action and intentionality. While some people might meet a romantic mate organically just by going about their life, whether or not that happens to any given person is arbitrary. So if it hasn't been passing for you and you are feeling yourself pining cooperation at this time in your life, it may be time to start investing in your courting life a little further laboriously. 5. You have a fear of happiness. Do and laugh. You know how it sounds. Why would anyone sweat being happy? We humans are strange brutes, and this indeed is commodity that happens. Indeed, though most of us aren't apprehensive of it. Are you hysterical of what would be if you ever did find the one? So hysterical that it leads you to sabotaging your own connections. Do you push people down before they can get too close to you because having an honest emotional connection with someone scares you? You try not to get too attached and suppress your desire for connection so much so that others may misinterpret and suppose you are impertinent, inconsistent, and not each interested. 6. Don't take care of yourself and try to look stylish. It's been said numerous times, and in numerous ways, men are visual brutes and physical magnet is extremely important. Not taking care of yourself is one of the actions that keep you single ever. Magnet work sells for men and women. A woman can develop a magnet to a man because of his internal rates. Men also need to be attracted to a woman on an emotional and intellectual position. But they will no way get there if there isn't formerly a strong and established physical magnet. You shouldn't take care of yourself just to get or keep a man. Do it because it'll make you feel good about yourself, which opens the door for numerous good effects in life away from a relationship. 7. Unhealthy lodestones. When we act on our defenses, we tend to choose less than ideal relationship mates. We may establish an unsatisfying relationship by opting a person who isn't emotionally available. Because this process is largely unconscious, we frequently condemn our mate for the relationship's failed outgrowth. We tend to feel devastated or hurt by the repeated rejections without feeding that we're actually seeking out this pattern. Why do we do this? The reasons are complex and frequently grounded on our own bedded fears of closeness. Numerous people have an unconscious provocation to seek out connections that support critical studies they've long had toward themselves and renewal negative aspects of their springtime. These may be unwelcome, but breaking with old patterns can beget us a great deal of anxiety and discomfort and make us feel strangely alien and alone in a more loving terrain. Our fears of parting with the image we developed of ourselves beforehand on and starting to see ourselves in a more positive light paradoxically make us feel uneasy and may spark tone, attacking studies like, "Who do you suppose you are? You're not that great." These fears may beget us to hold on to connections without eventuality or to feel attracted to people who aren't really available, because they support our negative image of ourselves, which feels more comfortable and familiar, albeit painful. It may surprise you to know that it's not entirely your mate's fault. People tend to attract the types of connections they suppose they earn, says Dixon File. However, they tend to stay in one-sided connections too long. If someone is floundering with their own tone, worth, and tone acceptance, the stylish way to fix this, according to Weber, is to step down and work on your own tone growth. Rather of trying to save the relationship, your focus should be on flourishing your own life, rather of allowing your mate to be the main focus, she says. In other words, you do you, the rest will come. So this is all for today's video. Do not forget to like, share, and subscribe. Turn on the notification bell so that you get notified as soon as we upload a video. Also, let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in next one.